Our journey begins on the grounds of Columbia University, where students, echoing the spirit of their 1980s predecessors, have taken to occupying campus buildings. Much like their historical counterparts who successfully campaigned for divestment from South African apartheid, these protesters are rallying against investments in Israeli entities, driven by the ongoing Israel-Gaza war. But the landscape today is far more complicated than in the past. The intricate web of geopolitical relationships, the enduring conflict in Gaza, and the complex task of divesting from Israeli-linked companies all present formidable challenges to these modern-day activists. And despite the mounting pressure from progressive groups, President Biden's administration continues to firmly support Israel, rendering immediate divestment a distant dream. The story doesn't end there. Amid the rising tension and controversy, Palantir CEO Alex Karp made headlines with his provocative remarks at an event in Washington, D.C. His comments, which included criticism of the Columbia University protests and a suggestion of sending the protesters to North Korea for a change of perspective, stirred the pot further. President Biden, perhaps drawing from his experiences as a law student during the 1960s protests, has found himself walking a tightrope. On one hand, he stands by the right of students to express their opinions freely. On the other, he's faced with the daunting task of condemning any form of anti-Semitism arising from these protests. This delicate balancing act, however, has not come without its share of criticism. Republicans, positioning themselves as defenders of harassed Jewish students, have taken aim at Biden for his perceived inaction. Democrats, too, have voiced their disapproval of any protests that target Jewish students or resort to violence. This tumultuous situation has resulted in a dip in Biden's standing among voters under the age of 30. So, what have we learned from this unfolding saga? Firstly, the student protests are reflective of a broader, more complex geopolitical environment. Secondly, President Biden's handling of the situation, influenced by his history as an institutionalist, has been met with mixed reactions, highlighting the polarized nature of today's political landscape. Lastly, we've seen that these protests can have far-reaching impacts beyond the campus grounds, drawing in prominent figures from various industries and sparking widespread debate. As we continue to observe this developing story, one thing is clear: the summer of 2024 is set to be a boiling one indeed.